Protest against the new National Resources Fund Bill 2021. 54-year-old woman bound and beaten amid a home invasion. 3 men impersonating passengers robbed a taxi driver on the West Bank. In the region, Trinidad records 6 more cases of Omicron, and internationally, India fears new COVID wave as Omicron infections spread. Greetings and welcome to another edition of Channel 2 Headline News Update. I am Bibi Bacchus. Thank you for joining us. Several persons were gathered earlier today outside of the Arthur Chung Convention Center at Lilliendale in a protest to voice their concerns about the new National Resources Fund Bill 2021 being tabled today by the government in Parliament. In a statement by President Muhammad Ali yesterday, he said the National Resources Fund Bill 2019 was unconstitutional and placed the vested power of the Sovereignty Fund in the hands of the Minister of Finance.
So, the old act did not allow for any of this. For a matter of fact, it was the sole authoritative authority of the Minister of Finance doing all of this, determining the fiscal sustainable amount, determining the economic sustainable amount. That was in his opinion. That was in his opinion the best possible framework or scenario for Guyana. So what we sought to do was to remove the extraordinary powers that was vested in the Minister of Finance by addressing these flaws. So the new bill drastically reduces the powers, functions, and responsibilities of the minister. It introduces a board of directors and grant the board almost all of the powers previously vested in the Minister of Finance. That board will include the private sector participation as well as participation by a nominee of the National Assembly. So the new act removed the powers from this sole individual, the Minister of Finance. And this was a core argument that we presented when we opposed the old bill.
However, Aubrey Norton opposes the new bill, stating that the amendment of the bill places the power in the hands of the President and the Minister of Natural Resources, alleging that they will be in a position to misuse the funds.
And so, all Guyanese, I believe, have got to become involved in the struggle to stop the People's Progressive Party from changing Article 22. Article 22, as presently structured, gives protection to our oil resources. The amendments that Jack Lew is coming with, they are aimed at creating conditions for them to loot our treasury, for them to pillage our treasury.
Meanwhile, some of the protesters and opposition member of parliament voiced their opinion on the new bill.
This bill, which will replace the existing act, removes a critical element of oversight. It removes a 22-member public oversight committee that is independently arrived at, separate from the government, and replaces it with a 9-member committee handpicked only by the government. It violates what is known as Santiago Principles, to which this administration committed to in the manifesto, among other things. Santiago Principle, simply, is setting the stage to loot and plunder the resources of this country, to benefit a small clique, a handful of persons, who in their galloping greed are unconcerned about the plight of the ordinary Guyanese.
We have a government in office that is bent on running roughshod over the hues and cry of the Guyanese population. And we must ask ourselves, why would a government be so desperate as to ignore all of the caution coming from all quarters of Guyanese society? And the answer to that is simple: they are desperate.
A 54-year-old woman is left traumatized and counting her losses after two bandits entered her home at Phase 2 Good Hope on the east coast of Demerara. Threatening her, they tied her up before stealing jewelry and other items on Monday, December 28, 2021. Enquiries disclosed that around 4:20 a.m., the victim, who resides alone, was awakened by a noise in her home. As she got up to investigate, she was confronted by the two suspects, who placed a cutlass to her neck while demanding money and jewelry. They then tied her up and relieved her of a quantity of jewelry among other items. The suspects then dealt the victim several lashes across her body before escaping. The victim managed to untie herself and call for help. She was assisted and accompanied to the Vigilance Police Station to report the incident. She was further accompanied to the GPHC to seek medical attention. Checks for the two men were unsuccessful. However, investigations continue. Stick around after the break. A man's car was stolen from his yard at Bushy Park on east bank of Essequibo, and 3 men impersonating passengers robbed a taxi driver on the west bank.
Shop at John Lewis Styles in December and you could win one Amazon Fire tablet every day. Yes, every day. And that's not all. 4 persons will win $500,000 to spend in the store. Just imagine $500,000 to spend on clothing, footwear, watches, fragrances, handbags, luggage, and accessories. So shop now at John Lewis Styles to win one Amazon tablet every day and $500,000 to spend in the store. John Lewis Styles, simply different.
Good girl forget things.
What's the problem, Granny?
I want money for borrow for do a surgery. I was dancing and I fall and fracture my hip.
If you need some quick money, you should check Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop.
Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop, Lot 238 South Road Border, Georgetown. Get jewelry made to order in just 72 hours. We also accept vehicles. Lender's, best rates, longest payback period.
Boys, I get through. Plus, I could dance again.
Lender's Jewelry and
Survival Shopping Complex brings to you its delivery service, Shop through WhatsApp. This process is simple. All you need to do is call or message your grocery list to 613-9683 and we will select your items for you and have them delivered directly to you, even out of town. This is convenient because we can stay on the phone with you as we select your favorite brands. We're happy to do your shopping for you. Contact us on WhatsApp today and shop Price Smart at Survival Shopping Complex.
Service, transportation for every occasion. short drop, airport, weddings, funerals, and much more. We're located at Lot H. Durbin and Vicingen Road, next to Green City Bar. For honest, efficient, and reliable service, call Kingdom Based Taxi Service at 648-5959 or 227-7937. You can count on us.
Welcome back. On Tuesday, December 29, around 3 p.m., 42-year-old Salik Sohan parked his motorcar in his yard at Bushy Park on the east bank of Essequibo. He left the keys in the ignition and went upstairs. Shortly after, he returned to discover his car, a Toyota Spacio PPP 8174, valued at $1.9 million, was missing. As a result, the man raised an alarm and the police were summoned. Acting on information received, the ranks went to the home of a 25-year-old male at Macwatt Street in Virgin Eugene. The man was lying in a hammock in the yard and immediately admitted to taking the car. He was told of the allegations, cautioned, and taken into custody. Further investigations revealed that the suspect is mentally challenged and a patient at a mental institution at the GPHC. The victim later arrived on the scene and identified the vehicle, which was subsequently handed over to him. However, the front left side bumper and fender were damaged. Investigation is ongoing. A 25-year-old male taxi driver was on Tuesday, December 28th, robbed by three men who appeared to be passengers. Enquiries disclosed that around 8 p.m., the victim was working his motorcar HC2431 from Vredenhoop to Wales on the west bank of the Marara when he picked up three identifiable suspects in the front of Stanleytown Junction. They are requested to be taken to Sisters Village. While in the vicinity of Wales Police Station, the victim had an uneasy feeling that something wasn't quite right when suddenly he heard a sound like a gun being cranked. The suspect then held the victim at knife point and told him to drive to Duncan Street Sisters Village, and on arrival, the three suspects relieved him of $27,000 in cash and one wristwatch valued at $5,500 before escaping on foot. The taxi driver chased behind them and managed to apprehend one of the suspects, a 16-year-old of Bell West Canal No. 2, West Bank Demerara. He was taken to the Wales Police Station where he was handed over to the police. He is in custody assisting with the investigation. A search for the other two suspects is in progress. Don't go away after the break. Chile, companies recycling plastic waste to make building materials, and France to roll out new COVID-19 restrictions as Omicron surges. But before that, here's the bridge retraction schedule.
When you need money and you gotta get it fast, Creative Jewelry and Pawn Shop is the place for that confidential transaction in a quiet and secure location. You'll get the highest value per pennyweight for your gold and also enjoy the lowest interest rates and longest payback period too. Yes, for that instant transaction to solve a pressing financial problem. That Creative Jewelry and Pawn Shop, 46 Boyle Place, that's between the Ministry of Housing on Brickdam and White Castle Fish Shop. Be your first and only choice. Creative Jewelry and Pawn Shop, safe and sound, solid and secure, always there for you. Telephone 231-7878 and 223-8955.
Furnishing your home or office has never been easier. Here at Kissoons, our inventory of locally made and imported furniture, offered at amazing prices, will leave you wanting more. From vinyl, floor rugs and carpets, bedroom, dining and living room sets, mattresses, pillows, office desk, chairs and filing cabinets, outdoor benches and tables. We have a piece of furniture for every room imaginable in your home or office. Check out our flagship store at Industrial Site Rijnveld or one of our branches in New Amsterdam, Port Morant, Riverton and Camp Street. Kissoons Furniture, furnishing homes for over 50 years.
Welcome back. Now we take a look at news in the region and around the world. Trinidad and Tobago has recorded 6 new cases of the Omicron strain of the coronavirus, as well as 25 more deaths due to the virus. The Trinidad and Tobago Ministry of Health stated in its most recent bulletin that 6 additional Omicron cases brought the total number of cases to 11, with 3 of the new cases being foreign nationals on board an international ship that had already left local waters. Meanwhile, St. Vincent and the Grenadines reported its first case of the coronavirus pandemic's Omicron variant after a fully vaccinated U.S. traveler tested positive for the virus. According to the National Emergency Management Organization, the unnamed passenger who received a negative COVID-19 test result was subjected to an additional testing upon arrival at the island, where they were found to be positive. The Bahamas Minister of Health and Wellness, Dr. Michael Darville, stated today that the country is witnessing its 4th wave of the coronavirus infections. His remarks came after the government recorded 330 new infections on Christmas Day. The surge is thought to be caused by the Omicron variant. The 3rd wave nearly brought the Bahamian medical institution to the brink of collapse. Darville, on the other hand, urges Bahamians to play their part in preventing new infections. In South America, companies in Chile are turning plastic waste into products that have the same appearance and qualities as wood. The recycling method is so advanced that it even uses types of plastic that do not usually get reused. Al Jazeera's Lucia Newman reports.
Anita Farfan gave up her job as an executive secretary to become what she calls a transformer. Making these mountains of plastic waste disappear is impossible. But at this small factory on the outskirts of Santiago, Farfan and her partners transform it into wood. Except that it only looks like it.
Recyclable plastic is everywhere, and its properties are even better than those of wood. For example, can you believe that this plastic wood is more resistant, it doesn't chip or bend, or allow microorganisms to contaminate it, and it won't swell because it's waterproof?
We test it for ourselves. I'm going to see how strong this stuff is. Not a scratch.
No marks.
The plastic waste is minced into minute particles and then melted before it's turned into these wood-like slabs. They're being used by NGOs for rollable boardwalks or furniture. Let's see what we've got here. This is a motor oil container, fabric softener, chlorine, there's lots of that, more, and lots of little liquid yogurt jars, tons of detergent, shampoo, hair conditioner, the sort of things people use every single day. But the problem is there's no way to make it disappear. Plastic doesn't disintegrate, not in hundreds of years.
This is plastic number 7 because it has polyethylene and aluminium. Nobody recycles this. It goes straight to the rubbish dumps or the ocean.
The Revalora Foundation produces eco wood out of waste no one wants, making picnic tables, desks, flower pots, while teaching children at schools all over Chile the value of recycling.
This is more or less what a single person throws out every week, and so we invite children to put it in these bottles, press it in, and we pick it up at their schools, and we transform it into this, which we call eco-wood.
Collection centers are being set up everywhere, but critics say this type of circular economy has a fundamental flaw.
No plantea It doesn't promote a fundamental change in our consumption habits. If we continue generating the same amount of waste without changing the productive model that generates it, we're just kicking the ball forward.
Perhaps. But there's one important advantage to the still fledgling industry made from waste. It should help reduce the need to cut down more trees. Yet another environmental casualty of our times. Lucia Newman, Al Jazeera, Santiago.
Internationally, France has announced new COVID-19 measures in a bid to stem a surge in infections as concerns rises worldwide over the rapid spread of the highly transmissible Omicron variant. Elsewhere in Europe, several other countries have also opted to roll out new measures in response to the spread of Omicron, which studies suggest is significantly more infectious but milder than previous versions of the coronavirus. Al Jazeera's Jonah Hall reports.
The Christmas and New Year holiday period was always likely to speed the advance of the Omicron variant, and so it is proving. In the UK, a record 129,000 new infections were reported on Tuesday, but the government's decision not to disrupt New Year celebrations and instead to emphasise vaccine booster shots reflects positive signs that hospital admissions and death numbers aren't rising with the same intensity.
We're looking at the data and we wouldn't hesitate to act if we saw that the data told us that we needed to introduce further measures, but so far that's not what the data is telling us.
The cautious optimism that Omicron may be less of a threat than the previous Delta variant isn't being embraced everywhere. Countries like the Netherlands, Austria and Denmark are under varying degrees of lockdown, and in Spain a wave of new infections has provoked such public concern that free COVID-19 tests are running out. France, though, is holding its nerve, also promoting vaccine booster shots as the first line of defence. It's reduced the required delay before getting a booster from 4 months to 3.
I think the government is doing what they can with what they know about this virus that is spreading throughout the world. It's not only here. We just hope that there won't be a 5th, 6th, 7th or 8th dose, but they're doing what they must.
Germany is taking a hybrid approach, buying time, the government says, for boosters to work, with a range of restrictions including restaurant curfews, nightclub closures and limits on sports and other public gatherings. It's expected that Omicron will become the dominant coronavirus strain in Germany within days.
Something has to be done to bring the infection figures down. I also understand that we have to look ahead to the next few weeks.
Looking ahead is made easier by watching what's happening in the UK, currently the Omicron epicentre. The UK government's light touch, booster-driven gamble based on data that's still evolving will either be proven right to everyone's relief or wrong, perhaps giving other countries just enough time to change course. Jonah Hull, Al Jazeera.
And finally, the Omicron variant of the coronavirus is raising fears of a third wave of the pandemic in India. The country on Wednesday reported a total of nearly 800 Omicron cases, while COVID-19 infections rose by 9,195 new daily cases, a 44% spike from the previous day. Al Jazeera's Pravani Mittal reports.
These factory workers are racing against time, trying to finish their day's work before the curfew starts so they don't lose their wages, as the virus threatens to wipe out their livelihoods once again.
I'm scared of the curfew. We eat as we earn. I'm a poor person and migrated from a village to make a living. I'm scared of coronavirus and the night curfew.
As COVID-19 cases rise sharply, several states have imposed night curfews and stricter testing rules for travelers. New Delhi, which has the highest number of Omicron cases in the country, has been put on yellow alert. Schools, gyms and cinemas have shut, with new restrictions on restaurants and public transport. The capital is preparing COVID-19 wards and ramping up oxygen supply as a third wave of infections is threatened. Despite that, markets have been crowded. The Chief Minister has implored everyone to follow COVID-19 protocol.
We don't want COVID-19 to spread yet again, and that is why we are repeatedly making appeals that if you go out or go to market or office, please wear a mask. We have to be responsible, but at the same time, don't be scared.
The government has also expanded its vaccination drive. Starting next month, over 15s will be eligible for a jab, while frontline workers and over 60s with health problems can receive booster shots. The government has approved 2 new jabs and an antiviral drug to treat COVID-19.
While India is showing some indication of renewed awareness and attention to respond to Omicron variant, there is attention on increasing vaccination coverage and point of entry testing. But as far as COVID appropriate behavior is concerned, there is a lot of room or space for improvement.
While infections and hospital cases remain lower than in other parts of the world, the government says restrictions will be increased if the infection rate continues to rise. While market traders like these fear financial losses, political rallies continue in states where elections are due early in the new year. That's provoking fears of a repeat of so-called super-spreader religious gatherings and election rallies. They went ahead in the summer despite the Delta variant infecting millions of Indians. Pavni Mittal, Al Jazeera, New Delhi.
And that is it for today's regional and international news. Here now is your 3-day weather forecast. That is all for this edition of Channel 2 Headline News Updates. Tune in on Thursday at 7 p.m. for another episode. Be sure to subscribe, like, and follow us on Facebook and YouTube. Until then, please take care of yourself and each other.